Okay, I will go over one version of the quiz. The other version will be very much the same, so you should be able to figure out what you did wrong if I don't show that version. Number one, you had x that was less than or equal to 7 and greater than -3, so it does not include -3, so it's open at -3 and it closed at 7, so we have the bracket. Number two, you had a compound interval here, so numbers between -4 and -6, including -6 or and -4. So close that -6 and close that -4, or I believe the other one started at 5, so it was open at 5, and then it went all the way to positive infinity. Okay, so, or if you wanted, or infinity. Okay. And that was or. I think some of you said and. Well, you can't have a number that's both between -6 or -4 and -4 and 5 or greater. There's no such thing. You can't have a number that's in this interval and it's going to be greater than 5. That's impossible. So if you used and, I took off a point, or I took off point. I won't say a point because the question was only worth a point. All right, the next one here. So you had, what segment does number 4 in the graph represent? Well, it represents someone taking a break. Their distance hasn't changed at all over some time. Remember. Okay, and number 5 or 4, what segment does 5 represent? Well, again, they started at home and they were walking. They decided to go for a run. So as they went away for a run, they were going away from their home. So the distance was getting greater. And then now the distance is declining. So they're running back to home. They're moving towards their house. All right, the next one here, state the domain. This is where some of you guys lost points on. Okay, so the domain is the x values, and the ranges are the y values. And then you had to answer if the relation was a function. So my domain, well, that's the input values, 18, and we always list these in ascending order. So 58, and then the range was those are the y values, and again we list those in ascending order. So 45, but we don't list duplicate numbers. Okay, some of you may have listed 80 twice. You only list 80 once. If you did that, I did take off like a quarter of a point. If you didn't list them in ascending order, I took off a quarter of a point. All the examples or problems in the textbook or what you did online or what I did in class did indicate to write in ascending order, as well as not to write duplicates. And then of course that is a function because each x only goes to one y. So that was yes. And then the next one here, so is this relation a function? And you had to list the domain and range. So again, the domain in ascending order, 8, 10, 11, and 13. And again, we don't duplicate duplicate numbers. We don't have to. The range, again, ascending order. So some of you did not do this in ascending order and you would have lost a quarter point. 0, 2, 3, 4, and we don't. And again, we don't list duplicates. And then was that a function? No, because 13 goes to both 4 and 13 goes to 2. 1x can't go to multiple y's. So that was no. Not a function. And then let's see here. So does this pass the vertical line test? Yes, it does. If I draw a vertical line anywhere, okay, there's only one y value for each x value, wherever that x is. So it passes the vertical line test, so it is a function. 1x only goes to 1y. And then the last one is, does that pass the vertical line test? Is that relation a function? No. If I draw a vertical line anywhere, it's going to intersect in 2 points. So for example, what is that? That's x is -1 for 1, so this would be, so what's that? X is actually -2. So that would be -2, and then y would be 0, and that point there would be -2 and 3. Okay, so 1x, -2 goes to 2y's, 3 and 0. That is not a function. Okay, so that was the quiz, and so you'll have problems like that on your test.